Imagine being a teacher and losing your voice. If you speak to many teachers, I've heard from some who have, that is literally like your occupation being ruined. It's like someone who's a violinist and they lose sensitivity in their fingers. That's the worst thing that can happen to a teacher. And so when Rabbi Alexander ben Nun lost his voice and he was not able to actually speak, he was devastated. And he sent a letter to the Lubavitcher Rebbe asking the Rebbe why this would happen to him. All of the good he brings to the world is through his voice. Why would God take it away? And so first the Rebbe acknowledged his bitterness and the understanding that he lost his voice. And then the Rebbe said, if you really want to understand why, the losing of your voice actually is the very essence of education. Because the essence of education is when the teacher can stop influencing and let the student be the expression of everything that the teacher is trying to imbue upon the student. In other words, there needs to be a space of silence where the teacher stops giving and the student begins to step up and own everything that has been given to him. And this is a very powerful lesson, and it actually is one of the fundamental approaches that the Rebbe took in leading a generation of Jews. And that is by making sure every single one of us knows we have to, in the language of today, we must own our own place in the world. We must own our Jewish presence in the world, and we must not rely on holy people who have mastered that presence to do it on our behalf. In fact, at the very first talk the Rebbe gave when he accepted the leadership of Chabad, which was on the 10th day of Shvat in the year 1951, the Rebbe said that don't think that now because you have a leader, you can stick your hands in your pockets, because I am not here to do the work for you. You must do the work yourself. Why? Because the Rebbe wanted to raise leaders. He didn't want to raise followers. And he stated that at the very outset. What's fascinating is that many years, Yud Shvat occurs with the Torah portion of Beshalach, as it does this year, where Yud Shvat, the 10th day of Shvat, is on Shabbos. The Shabbos, when we read the story of the Jews crossing the sea, the splitting of the sea, as Yashir, the song of the sea. And we find a very fascinating conversation in the Talmud about the song of the sea. Us Yashir Moshe, then Moshe sang. And then the Torah tells us that Moshe sang by Yomru, and they said, Lamor saying, that Moshe sang and then the Jews sang. What exactly happened? How did this song play itself out? It's a debate in the Talmud with three opinions. And these three opinions, it sounds like some random debate that they had, but it carries very deep significance to the responsibility of every single one of us. Rabbi Akiva is the first opinion, and he says that Moshe sang each phrase in that song, and the Jewish people responded to every phrase that Moshe said. They responded with the same two words, Ashir Allah Hashem, let us sing song to God. Moses would say another phrase, and the Jewish people respond, Ashir Allah Hashem, let's sing praise to God. And that's how the entire song went, with Moshe himself saying the whole song, and the Jewish people just responding sort of in applause. And Rabbi Eliezer argues, and he says, no, that's not exactly what happened. His opinion was that Moses would say a phrase, the Jewish people would repeat it. Moshe would say a phrase, the Jewish people would repeat it. So Moshe would lead, and the Jewish people would repeat. And then the third opinion, Rabbi Nechemia comes and says, no, you know what happened? Moshe said the first word, Oz Yashir Moshe, and he began the song. And at the moment he began the song, all of the Jewish people began to sing the song with him. How did they know exactly what Moshe was going to say? Because every single one of them was filled with divine inspiration, as Moses was when he was singing the song, and they knew this exact song they were inspired with the exact song that Moshe was being inspired with at the very same time. What is the mystery behind this debate? The mystery behind this debate is defining what is a good Jew. What is a good Jew? Well, Rabbi Akiva was saying a good Jew is a Jew who is obedient. Obedient. God gives you orders, you follow. Follow orders, follow orders. Be a follower, follow orders. So Moshe makes the same. Moshe is the leader. He's the great one. He's got the inspiration. He sings the song. Jewish people say, "We're with you, Moshe. We're with you, Moshe." Ashir ala Hashem. Sing praise to God. Sing praise to God. But Moshe is the one who's singing the praise to God. I am being obedient to the leader. But Rabbi Elazar says a Jew's got to step up more than that. And you have not only must you listen to the leader, but you also must follow. So Moshe made a statement and the Jew people followed. In other words, they identified. After they heard what Moshe said, they personalized it. They identified with it themselves, and it became a part of them. And then they were able to say the same words themselves. They weren't just following Moshe, but they actually stepped into Moshe's shoes. Every time Moshe took a step, they stepped right into that step as well. And they identified with the idea, the theme, the inspiration that Moshe had through Moshe, and then they followed suit. But Rabbi Nechemia says we need even more than that. And that is, we listen to Moshe, but then we express it on our own. We own it ourselves. We're still not following, but we're owning it on ourselves. Of course, there is an element of following that kicks us off. But then we follow it on our own. Very, very powerful. This is exactly what the Rebbe wanted to see from our generation, that every single one of us steps up and we own it. We become an expression of who the Rebbe is. And you can see this through the fact that the Rebbe made all of these shluchim. He has emissaries throughout the world. Why does he have emissaries throughout the world? Because he said, I want you to be a representation of me throughout the world. That's what I want from you. And in fact, that's what he created. Very, very powerful. And this is the power of the generation that the Rebbe created. And that means that every single one of us has to step into everything God invested within every one of us and to live up to the best of our ability, being Jewish leaders, that every single Jew see themselves as a leader, whether it's to our spouse, whether it's to our family, our children, whether it is to our friends and our fellow community members. We can all take a leadership position and saying, I stand for something. It's not just that the Rebbe stood for it and I do it, but I will stand for it as a Rebbe, an emissary of the Rebbe, and I will be that leadership to other people until they step into it and they become leader to others. And this is when we have a powerful Jewish people. This is what defined one of the greatest Jewish leaders of all time, the Rebbe. And we are all an expression of this great leadership, and we can be an extension of it to the Jews around us.